On today's Movie Talk, we're talking about the Joker and how Joaquin Phoenix got that laugh, and we're also going to take a look at the new trailer for Parasite, the new film from Bong Joon-Ho. This is going to be an exciting movie talk, I can tell you. I'm sitting in for Perry Nemiroff. You can see the logo. As I say, it's doing its thing every time. I'm sitting in for Perry Nemiroff. She's out there in the Pacific Northwest with Haley Fouch. They've got a podcast that they're doing, The Witching Hour. They're doing it live out, I think it's the South Bend Fest. I think that's what it's called. There's North Bend Fest, something like that. She's up there having a blast. So I'm sitting in for the host chair. Welcome to another episode of Movie Talk. And hey, you know I can't ride solo on this. So let's meet our returning panelists. That's right here. Silas, how are you, my man?
Great. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you, man. And of course, Marc Andreyko. How are you, brother, man?
Good, good.
Yeah.
My love for Collider. It's early for a freelance writer. 9:45 is like 5 a.m. for normal people.
That's a fair point. We are pre-taping this for a number of reasons that we can't reveal at this point. But we are pre-taping this. This is going to. So if anything broke on this Friday and we didn't cover it, this is why. But I want to jump in first with this story. Let's get to it now, and that's the Joker story going on with Joaquin Phoenix. He did a recent interview with an Italian magazine, Il Venerdì, and he explained where he got his Joker laugh from, which we've seen in the trailer, of course, which has been fantastic and very notable. I mean, all the great Jokers have a notable laugh. They have to, right? He said, and this is via CBR, he said, I watched videos of people suffering from pathological laughter, a neurological disorder that makes individuals laugh uncontrollably. He further went on to say that he started with the laugh to get into the character, to find his way into the character, and then spoke about the videos that he watched. I'll go to you, Marc, on this one first, because I'm a little struck by this, because I feel like, is he using these people's actual condition to create this character? And is there a bit of, I don't know, troubling aspect of it all as we embrace mental health and be more aware of mental health? Is it okay for an actor to start using these things for their performance now?
I think it's a tempest in a teapot. I think he's doing research. Actors do research. I think we've come to a really interesting place with political correctness and people wanting to be offended by things, that actually doing research is now not doing research, and incorporating things from real life is not making fun of or mocking. And if I just don't see the issue. I don't see the issue for that. I think he would do realistic research, as opposed to, he's the kind of guy that would dive into realistic research, where someone who's a comic book fan might dive into old Joker books. So I don't think there's anything in that says he's like, oh, I was mocking these people or I was making fun of those people. He was looking at what would be the real world thing about the Joker, and I think that makes sense. I think what we've seen of this movie looks so gritty and real. Yeah. I think he has to, for his performance, he has to have realistic ways to get to that character. So I don't think it's an issue at all, and okay. I don't think he's, I think he's not mocking any of these people.
Okay, yeah, certainly not mocking was not my point of view. I think he's mocking. It's more a matter of, like, as we become more aware of this mental health, and we've seen other people, but like Rain Man and all kind, like, are they using other people's actual conditions in their pursuit for personal glory, Oscars or what have you? So that's where I start to wonder about the trouble. How much responsible are actors, directors, and producers being about this?
I would argue that pathological laughter is different than having Down syndrome or autism. Okay. or being trans. Pathological laughter is a symptom. It's not, that doesn't infer the person's crazy. That's like having hiccups for the rest of your life. Whereas if you're an actor playing a trans character, and there are trans actors, or if there are actors with Down out there who could play that part, that's a little bit distasteful. But this is a symptom. This is a thing. It's not affecting the mentality of the character. It's it's a psychological reaction, but it's not something that is. They're not the same.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a Pseudobulbar Affect is what it's called, or emotional incontinence is a type of emotional disturbance characterized by uncontrollable episodes of crying and or laughing or other emotional displays. PBA occurs secondary to a neurological disorder or brain injury. I go to you, Silas, about this. Could he possibly have this in the movie as an element of his character?
I think that's a really good point. It's a question of, is this something that he is suffering from, and does that make a difference? Does that make it better or worse? I think the unfortunate fact is, as long as you're borrowing elements from real life to tell a story, which every movie is going to do, you're sometimes going to cross some lines that, from certain perspectives, are lines that they wish you hadn't crossed. If you had a family member who was killed by an alligator, Crawl is going to be a really offensive movie to you. You're not going to be able to watch that. It doesn't mean they shouldn't make the movie, though.
Right, right. Well, do you think if he does have it in the movie, there's a responsibility that it should be addressed, right?
Like maybe should be accurate.
Yeah,
I mean, it's no different really than playing any other sort of like neurological disorder. You look at what the actual effects of this problem are, and you base the character off that.
Yeah.
And if this movie's set in the 70s, which I don't know if we have a firm confirmation of what decade it is, this syndrome might not have been diagnosed then. You know,
Good point.
we're also in an age now where, you know, kids that when I was a kid, they're like, oh, they were hyperactive. Now we're like, oh, they're on the spectrum. As time has got and time and technology has gotten better, we're able to diagnose things. So this might be a thing. I don't know what the psychological diagnosis when this term was coined.
Right.
So this could be very interesting, you know.
It's a very good point. I don't have it in my notes when it was diagnosed, but I found this to be interesting too, because I'm starting to hear this murmur, and this is why I kind of want to talk about it with you two gentlemen, is this murder, I've heard this murmur rather of this idea of, well, are we going to say that because you have this condition, you have a proclivity to become this kind of mass murderer, or this kind of like, is there a responsibility there? And this is not about like, you know, the the clutching pearls culture that people have nowadays. I'm being offended about everything. I'm actually legitimately asking this question: is it a dangerous thing to have that be a reason for why this person might become what they become, or is it more singular?
Well, this could be. We also, because haven't seen the film yet, this is all theoretical. He could get beaten up in the movie, and this could be a symptom of what happens from his brain injury.
Well, we see it in the trailer. He does get beat up a couple times.
This could be what causes that neurological disorder as well. So I think let's wait and see. I will give Joaquin Phoenix and Warner Brothers the benefit of the doubt that they're not doing something really offensive. They're not doing a mental health minstrel show.
Right.
And talking about this is all very theoretical. I think it's interesting that we're talking about this, and actually this could bring attention to this cause and to this thing. You know, so I think, you know, and the buzz on the movie is so great that, I mean, you don't premiere at the Venice Film Festival and get an award at the Toronto Film Festival by being Batman and Robin.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I think
Or even The Dark Knight, which didn't get that either.
I think, you know, we give this the benefit of the doubt. And something I mentioned when I was on Heroes earlier was this might, if he gets nominated for an Oscar, this would be the first comic book character that has been an Oscar-nominated character twice. Because, and if he wins, it'll be one of the few times when two actors win for playing the same character, albeit different versions, but it's the same character.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting that the second Oscar nomination for a superhero movie or a comic book movie might be the same character that won the only other time they've been nominated.
Yeah. Silas, what's you got your finger on the pulse of things sometimes that you can, and some things you can and can't talk about. You know a lot of things, you get connected in that way. What are you hearing about how he's created this character and what he's come up with here?
I'm excited. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is an intense force of nature. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him, and it's a challenge.
Is it an experience?
Was it a pleasure?
It was like a tremendous pleasure for about 10 minutes, and then another reporter was around the table, pulled out his phone, and his mood just dropped as if we had like killed his dog. Like, he looked like he was gonna cry. It was really weird.
Interesting. Hanging on the edge of that kind of stuff. Because I mean, you know, you watch. I watched You Were Never Really Here, right? I watched that, and that's also someone who's kind of suffering from a certain approach to the world, and so you wonder how much of these characters kind of speak to him in different ways, and that he wants to put on screen.
If you look at his history, just what we know about his growing up, the church that he was raised in, that weird culty church, him being there when his brother died at his feet. I mean, there's a lot of, I can see why he's drawn to these darker characters, because he's experienced a lot of intense, dark things. And for a lot of people, a lot of actors, this is their therapy, by playing these characters. Instead of going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, this is them working out exercising their demons on film. So
I will say too, the other movie that I can't wait to double feature with Joker is Shia LaBeouf's movie. That's sort of the memoir about his father, who was a rodeo clown.
Honey Boy,
where he's playing his own father.
Yeah.
That's like, Mr. Freud, come sit here, please.
Well, it's weird too, because it reminds me a lot of I'm Still Here, which also had Joaquin Phoenix. They just feel very closely connected. And there's a scene in Honey Boy where he's getting a pie in the face, and it's like, this shot looks like it belongs in the Joker trailer.
See, I want to do a triple feature of this with King of Comedy and Taxi Driver.
Oh yeah.
And you know, sandwich them all together and see the evolution of this sort of character.
Well, I think this just gets you hyped up for it, right? I mean, you see that I think I'm with Marc in this and Silas as well. Like you feel it's going to be a responsible portrayal of this particular condition if they address it in the movie, even more so. But you make a fantastic point, Marc. It's the 70s. How much of this was diagnosed? How much of this was known? How much of this was made fun of? I think a lot of us of a certain age can remember if you had any kind of tic, you were subject to ridicule from childhood on.
That R word that we used
exactly
liberally back then, you know, which is now you're like, oh my God, well, that was really awful.
Right.
But we evolve. Things become explained, demystified, and we learn and we become more sensitive. I don't think we should retcon stuff.
Right.
I think you contextualize stuff. I think erasing stuff from existence is really irresponsible. It makes you repeat it. And by addressing this stuff in a contextualized way, I think it's really interesting. And this could make someone, who knows, some kid could see this movie and then want to go study this and then become a great psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Or a great
Certainly
neurologist.
possible.
So
yeah,
there's good and bad.
Just like the Joker, there's good and bad. Well, that movie will debut at the Venice Film Festival on August 31st and then play TIFF, which some members of the Collider team are going to get to go. Sadly, I'm not one of those people, but I'm looking forward to this one so much. People ask me, like, what's your movie you're looking forward to? Yeah, there's Star Wars. Yeah, there's Terminator. It's this one because I literally have no idea what's going to happen and what it's going to be, and that excites me.
And it continues the one really interesting thing about DC movies, their casting.
Yeah.
Every time, whether it's Michael Keaton or Heath Ledger or Anne Hathaway or Joaquin Phoenix, when I hear these, I instantly go, oh, no. And then I'm like, oh, that's why I want to see it. So I will definitely give DC. People have issues with their movies, but I will give their casting the benefit of the doubt any day because this is certainly going to be an original performance.
Yeah, and it's already projected to be opening at 65 million, possibly for opening weekend. That's incredible.
We live in weird times.
we do. Let's move on to some plugs here. We're going to talk about the new trailer for Parasite from Bong Joon-Ho in just a second. But first, let me give you some plugs here. First, let me start with my own plug, and that's for Collider Mailbag. They're happening this weekend. 2 episodes, one Saturday, one Sunday. Marc has been on. I got to get you on, Silas. That's for damn sure. I'd love to have you on. Ashley Victoria Robinson and Jennifer Canberra, who is from Real D. She's stopping by to be one of my new guests on the show. So that'll be fun. Tune in for that on Saturday and Sunday. And then we have a new episode of Comic Book Shopping dropping next Tuesday. That's right. Coy hosting that one. Jack Slaydon from Brightburn. He is going to be on as the special guest of Comic Book Shopping. That's dropping again on Tuesday. All right, let's move on to this. It's a very weird Friday. So let's move on to the trailer for Parasite, this new film from Bong Joon-Ho. It's a Palme d'Or winner already. It centers on 2 families, the wealthy Parks and the aspirational Kims, who collide when the Kims find a way to insert themselves into the Parks' lives and start living off the largesse of the wealthy family. However, when a parasitic interloper comes along, a battle breaks out that threatens the relationship between the families. Bong is one of the most exciting filmmakers around now. Host, it was incredible. And then we recently got the Okja film that they did with Netflix that a lot of people enjoyed. I wasn't necessarily one of them, but certainly it's incredible the work that he's created, a name he's made across the world with his work. Silas, you see this trailer. What is your reaction to this insane trailer?
Show me the movie. It's a hard trailer to react to because I don't quite know what's happening. I'm just interested. It has so much on the surface, and I have no idea if any of that will actually have a big effect on the plot or if it's just to deliver a stylish trailer. But I don't think I have ever been disappointed by one of his films.
Oh, wow. What is it about this trailer that might stand out for you in terms of its approach or look?
I will say going in, just the fact that it won the Palme d'Or is huge. I think when you compete for the Palme d'Or, you're competing with every other movie from any other country. So in a way, it is the highest prize you can get for a movie any year.
Wow. You're putting it over an Oscar.
Yeah,
Silas,
Oscars have a tremendous... Oscars are great for American films. There's a foreign film category.
Sure.
But when you're competing at Cannes, you're competing against everyone.
Right. Oh, well, all right. Marc, your reaction to the trailer?
I think the trailer looks gorgeous. I think we talked about this off camera,
Yeah.
that it looks like the most beautiful movie he shot. Just the saturated colors and the angles and everything. I cheated. I went to Wikipedia because I couldn't figure out what this movie was about. And as a writer, I don't mind knowing how movies end. So
Right.
after reading the thing, I get it. It's interesting that the movie's called Parasite because there's a famous manga called Parasite.
Oh, yeah.
And lots of lazy Americans are going to assume maybe that because they're Asian. And Parasite also implies a horrorness. And after The Host and Okja, you think, this is a domestic drama. This is a drama about class and money and appearances and family. And for him to do that, it's like Steven Spielberg doing Always after doing Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh, he's not doing something that relies on genre, but he's doing something that's going to be very insidious and get under your skin. And the trailer, even if you don't understand the trailer, there's stuff that's disturbing and intriguing in the trailer. The trailer evokes a mood. I was a little upset after watching the trailer. I don't know if that's because I didn't know what the movie was about or because of some of the things. And the cultural differences, too. I always like movies that show me a culture I don't know. Right. So I don't know what the class structure is like in South Korea. So it'll be interesting to see how this happens.
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating because you look at this, he did Snowpiercer, did Mother. Now, Snowpiercer is certainly a class film, right? About like how, what's really going on in the upper classes within this train, reflective of the society overall. This seems like the same thing just from the opening shot of the trailer. By the way, I love this trailer. Just from the opening shot of the trailer where they're like, oh, should we close the windows? No. We'll get to fumigate for free. That's poverty. That's legitimate poverty.
Oh, yeah.
And the way they angle their way into this family's life. And it's just that line, the rich are kind of stupid or they're not that smart, right? They're gullible. Gullible is what they say. Yeah. So you can slide in there. And then from what I understand, piece by piece, every member of this family slides in. So you're like, okay, what is this going to lead to? But it's exciting. It's an excitingly scary trailer. And, I get a lot of crap for not being the biggest horror fan. But when good horror comes along, I'm excited. And
this is real horror.
Exciting,
this is
right?
real horror. This is the class struggle. And, it's counterintuitive, but this seems so specifically Korean. The more specific a story becomes, the more universal it becomes.
Yeah.
Even though we won't have the same cultural references, we understand the divide between the 1% and the rest of us. So it'll be interesting to see how that resonates across the world. And he's such a great visual storyteller that even if I don't understand what the movie's about, I'm sure just watching it is going to be a glorious experience.
Yeah. Silas?
I will say I think it's interesting to point out Snowpiercer and the class struggle because I think that's also very true in Okja.
Yeah,
but it's less people. It's more like how do we treat animals
and even Host has class issues as well. He really does explore those differences metaphorically, and now it seems like he's exploring them realistically.
Yeah. It's exciting. I love this idea because, you talk about how it's going on with horror here in the States, right? How these smaller films come out and for some reason blow the doors off the box office. No one sees coming. But these kind of films are a little more of a niche films, right? A little more of the independent kind of vibe to them, even though there's probably an extensive amount of money behind this film. But they have that kind of vibe to them. But they don't seem to open at the larger amounts that other horror films do. Do you think this one has a chance, judging from this trailer and the credibility of the Palme d'Or?
I don't think it has a chance to be a blockbuster.
Okay.
Frankly, I think that when people hear that it won a fancy French film award, they're may turn them away.
Direction.
But I think that his films have an awesome ability to sort of seep into the culture. I think more and more you talk to people that have seen Snowpiercer that you would have never thought would have seen Snowpiercer, but because it has Chris Evans in it and because it was on Netflix, it spreads. And I think The Host is the same way.
Do we know where this is premiering? Is this going to be released theatrically or has Netflix acquired this film? Who's distributing this? Do we know?
Let me take a look.
Neon?
Yeah, it's Neon is distributing, yes.
Okay, so Neon's one of those smaller companies that has the films streaming almost immediately. So
yeah.
I think streaming, even though it sort of ruined the theatrical experience for seeing small movies in the theater, streaming has allowed movies like this to exist and find things. The fact that Roma was on Netflix
right.
justifies every complaint I've ever had about Netflix because so many people watched Roma that never would go to see a black and white Mexican film in a theater. So it's one of the good things about accessibility. So this could, you put on the trailer from the director of The Host and Snowpiercer, and those movies have been seen a lot by a lot of people. So hopefully it'll get eyes on it.
Well, I see him come close to America, but not fully commit to America, right? Like let
him stay out of America. we have enough great foreign filmmakers that come to America and make garbage. Let him keep his voice. If we let him keep his voice, great.
Yeah, I found that to be the issue with John Woo. Like, John Woo was such a fantastic filmmaker on his side of the world. But when he came over and started doing American films, he wanted to bring the same style to American culture. But American culture, doesn't act the same way as they do over there. So the nuance of it got completely lost and felt completely incorrect. Like Hard Target was okay, but you know, Face Off's all right. Windtalkers, which I was a part of, is okay.
Paycheck.
Paycheck. Yeah, Paycheck was tough. But like you worry if he comes over. But I would like to see him have a shot at doing something.
I'd like to see him in an American studio budget.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to see him bring his personality and make the Americans shape to his voice as opposed to trying to second guess what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's using a few American lines in the trailer. I imagine there's more in the movie. So
one of the main characters, I believe, the young man in is hired to be an English tutor for one of the family members.
Right. And then the sister, I think, comes in to be an art tutor. What is that all about? And so and then you see the blood and everything. So to me, I'm just excited. That's all I can say.
It's what a trailer does. We're talking about it because we don't know what it's about.
Exactly.
Those are the best kind of trailers. I don't need to see the movie made into 30 seconds. I have ideas where this movie may go. I'm sure I'm completely wrong. And that's the best place to be when you're viewing a trailer.
Right. So he's never done anything wrong for you? I
don't think so.
Okay. Do you have a list of like what is your favorite of his? Can you say it offhand?
I mean, Snowpiercer is probably the top.
Okay.
But I love The Host as well.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm hoping this goes up there when it comes out.
Yeah, I will say this. This feels like something in my mind. I feel like a kind of, I don't know what you can say, but like I just feel like an energy that it might be my favorite one he's ever done. Well, just has a vibe that makes it accessible.
Far, he hasn't made a bad film. I didn't love Okja either, but it's ambitious and it's interesting and it's fresh. I want to see interesting films. I don't have to like everything.
Yeah.
And me not liking something doesn't mean it's bad. It just doesn't connect me. Okja is an incredibly well-made film, and he has a distinctive voice. And in this day and age, when everything is being sequelized, remade, rebooted halfway through the movie, to have someone with an independent voice who is fresh and new, that's like an oasis in the desert. Yeah. I don't want to see another movie that I don't know who directed it. I want to see a movie that has a style and a point of view. And this looks like all of that. Yeah.
Certainly now we're in the age where directors have come back to be the auteurs and be the people that gets us into theaters over actors. It feels like the movie star era is almost dead, and it's really the director era again, like it was in the 70s, that is getting us back into theaters. And certainly someone like Bong Joon-Ho does do that for a lot of people because of his pedigree. All right, well, thanks everybody. That's going to come out. Well, sorry, I have it here. October 11th is what I have. It's coming out from Neon.
This is a great fall.
Yeah.
This is a great fall. We've got Dr. Sleep. We've got It. We got this. There's so many movies coming out. The Joker in that quarter, that September, October quarter that used to be just nothing, is now like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to be in the theater every week, probably a couple of times in the week.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Certainly something to look forward to as well. Like we said, October 11th from Neon. They've done a lot of great documentaries, Neon, recently. So now seeing them lean into some more of this narrative stuff is great.
Didn't they also do Happy Together, the Robert Pattinson movie?
Right.
They've done some really interesting stuff.
Yeah. It's good. A lot of stuff's happening in the world of movies that's exciting. So good. And thank you. You know what's exciting? Having you guys join us to watch this episode of Movie Talk. Really appreciate that. I want to thank Marc Andreyko for stopping by. Marc, where can they find you, brother man?
On Twitter at Marc Andreyko, and on Facebook, and I'm currently writing Supergirl, and there's a couple other things that'll be announced soon. So and the Schmodown.
Yeah. There you go. Silas, where can they find you, my friend?
Movie Bill. We are relaunching this fall, so you'll be hearing a lot more about Movie Bill before the end of the year.
Okay, and they can find you at Silas.
Silas Lesnick on Twitter.
That's Lesnick. That's how you do it. You can find me at The Rogue Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Don't forget 2 mailbags this weekend. I want to thank Adam Smith there in the booth. Thank you so much. You all have yourselves an awesome week and enjoy yourself. Shout out to Perry and Haley who are out there having fun in Washington. Enjoy yourselves. Hope you guys, if you're out there and you're watching us, hope you go out there and enjoy their podcast as well and their live recording. And we'll see you next week, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another episode of Collider Movie Talk.